It's going to be very difficult being president. You know, Kenyatta enjoyed his president. Mzee Kenya, Rais Jomo Kenyatta, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, mtukufu rais. Working holiday, likizo yenye shughuli nyingi Mombasa, anaimbiwa hiyo imepita. Yeah. To be president is going to be so difficult. I can tell you in your lifetime, Jad, in your lifetime, I can tell you, you are going to see presidents stepping out of State House themselves voluntarily.
Great to see you. Hello there and welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Jedel Kabir. I'm so glad that you've joined us once again for our political conversations to help build policy and politics here in Kenya. I'm here with Prof. Manyora. Great to see you.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing well.
That's great.
Conversation in the country is about BBC's released documentary, Blood Parliament, actually showing police officers that shot and killed protesters. And when you look at this documentary, it's all about these protesters were unarmed and therefore they ought not to have been killed. After this documentary has been released, what is your expectation from our officers and government in general?
We've analysed over 5,000 photos and videos shot on the ground that day. We've determined when each was shot, using camera metadata, live stream timings, and public clocks visible in the shots. And we've plotted where they were shot on a 3D reconstruction of the site.
You know, when this kind of things happen anywhere in the world, action is never taken in real time. Action normally follows many years later. Through processes. Sometimes even things like truth and reconciliation. Through inquiries that, and so on and so forth. So, on my part, I do not expect government to take action. It will be the first government to do so.
There's a conversation too about collective responsibility and individual responsibility. When do you think we can get to that point? I know Gilbert Masengeli, former acting inspector general, was actually convicted, yet to be sentenced. But when will we get to that point where these officers can be singled out and be convicted? Will we get there?
I'm saying it doesn't happen really time. You don't expect the William Ruto government, and even the next government perhaps, to deal with this issue. It doesn't happen like that. Because it can ruffle the status quo. There's no way a policeman can take a gun and go and shoot people. Do you expect a normal policeman? Maybe one mad one, deranged or something like that. But if you have a set series of policemen armed properly with government guns, taking aim and shooting, do you think they can do it on their own? So how can you go for them? It's not possible.
They have been sent.
Of course.
Instructions.
Of course. Yeah, so these things are never resolved. They are never solved. They are resolved, if ever, many, many years later. When the country wants to come to terms with the truth as a way of healing, you are moving away from your past, which is hurting you. So you say, let us deal with this. And then you unearth things and so on and so forth. But these things are never solved by governments in real time.
What lesson do you think Kenyans should learn, especially government? Because these images, BBC says they've gone through 5,000 images to single out 3 police officers. What lesson should government learn when it comes to, I know budget reading is coming next month, there's the finance appropriation bill to be tabled in parliament. What do you think government should look at this time round?
The government must realize, and we have said this many times, this is not 1990, Saba Saba. No. This is the year 2021. The world has changed. This is not the year 1952, when the Paul Nge, Kenyatta were all lifted, I don't know to where, then finally where? Kapenguri and then Maraland and stuff like that. No, the world has changed. Anything you do, people are seeing it. When George Orwell talked about it in 1984, people thought he was crazy. But the camera now is a big brother, and the camera is there. Anything government does Anything you do.
Yes.
So that's what the government ought to know. That there are better ways of dealing with any situation. You cannot use the old ways of dealing with dissent. It cannot work. At this point, I also want to tell you what government must know, which is that the explanation I have just given about action that can be taken, that explanation may not help them much. Because I've told you, these sort of things traditionally are never solved by the government or by any government. They take time to be resolved. But you see, now we are dealing with an informed society, a restless youth, and they may not have the patience to wait for you. We are dealing with a population that will not hesitate to take action in their own hands. That's what the government must know. So one, when you send young people to use unorthodox means, excessive force, for example, against their own brothers and sisters, you must know you could be endangering their lives. Because we are dealing with the people who may not have much respect for authority and for law and enforcement agencies if they are seen to be excessive in what they are doing. So that's what the government must do. They could be putting these people they are sending in danger. Number two, government must know is that you become increasingly and so unpopular that your stay in power may not be tenable with this kind of activities. You may get away with one or two, but not all.
Do you think Ruto has gotten away with 2024's June protest?
That's why he's still in State House. So to that extent, you can say he got away with it. But the point I'm making is how sure is he if he used the same tactics? It may not. You survive, maybe you not survive. Even as a country, we almost went down in 2008, 2007, 2008. How sure are we if we made a repeat of the same nonsense? We will survive as a country. So the same thing about Ruto in 2025. He cannot be sure that he would survive. So it's the best thing to do is to avoid those situations.
And that's why we are going to the budget reading and we are going to appropriation bill again.
Come up with more workable strategies. Engage the people of this country. Tell him as a country, as a government, this is what we are facing. These are our proposals. This is what we think ought to be done. And we are doing this in the interest of this country and you people. If you are wrong, please, let us just do what we are doing and put in another government in 2027. But for us, this is what we think is good for you. If they push hard, tell them, okay, fine. Then we are withdrawing the finance bill, but then these are the consequences. If that will make you remove us from power, so be it. Because, let me tell you something. There are two things I said at the start of the Ruto regime. One is that it is not always going to be that we shall have 5 years election after 5 years. Not the Willis Otieno thing. I'm saying this. We had better get used to the idea that we are going to be having governments midstream. Miaka mbili serikali imeangushwa, ingine imeingia. Constitutional. I'm preparing Kenyans for this, and I've told them from the time Ruto was sworn in. That's the Kenya we are heading into. That people are going to be removing governments legally, lawfully, and putting other governments in place. We should get used to that. Nobody should think when they are sworn in, they will do 5 years. It's not automatic. The second thing is, and which I've also said, and I want to repeat here, and in the interest of this country and for Ruto to hear and the rest of the people, it's going to be very difficult being president. You know, Kenyatta enjoyed his president. Mzee Rais Jomo Kenyatta, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, mtukufu rais. Working holiday, likizo yenye shughuli nyingi Mombasa, anaimbiwa, hiyo imepita. To be president is going to be so difficult. I can tell you in your lifetime, Jad, in your lifetime, I can tell you, you are going to see presidents stepping out of State House, themselves, voluntarily.
Resign.
Yes. If this thing is going to be so hot, being president is going to be so hot. So I want people to get used to the idea that being president is not a picnic. They better start getting used to it. When you hear some noise in town, you know that's part of it. Yes.
Faces have been put on media of police officers who shot the young guys because of British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC.
Yeah.
What is the expectation about Kenyan media houses here in the country? Because this has been almost a year now, and it's BBC who's coming up with these images, coming up with these revelations.
Yes, yes,
What is
yes.
the expectation from our media houses?
Of course, they will now begin to parrot. They begin to show parts of it, and you know. But you can't blame them. The local media is not as bold as international media. They are beholden to government. The local media depends on government for existence. If government withdraws advertising, all media houses will collapse. So don't blame them. The ownership of the media is also another complication.
Political.
Yes. You get what I'm saying? The spaces in which media play out is also another issue. The media in Kenya is not as endowed as the Western media. They are not as well as equipped. They don't have well-trained journalists. They don't pay them well. A journalist from CNN can risk everything to go where there is trouble. A guy you are paying 60,000, can they go to? Well, you can't. So let's not be too harsh on our media.
Yes.
Yeah. If you see the salaries of CNN reporters, BBC, you run away. They can go anywhere where there is trouble. This one of ours, they'll just tell you keep your job. They'll go away. Yeah. So you can't compare local media to international media. Yes.
But in the near future, you've said in my lifetime presidents can resign. Do you think in our lifetime, media houses in Kenya can be as investigative as those?
They will be forced because they are already being forced out. Social media is taking over. So they will have to reinvent themselves and occupy their space and stop depending on government and learn from social media.
Thanks for tuning into that conversation. What's your expectation, actionable steps that you expect from government from the BBC's interview? Leave a comment down below. Thanks for tuning in. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.